Welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. You can find me at stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. I have a few things to go over with you before we jump into making this card tonight. One thing that I wanted to mention before I forget, because it is January 9th, is Paper Pumpkin deadline. If you're interested in getting the January 2022 kit, which has a love and Valentine theme, here it is. Let me show you the right side. So this is going to be the kit, and you have to sign up by tomorrow. You have to sign up by the 10th day of each month to get that month's Paper Pumpkin kit. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link up after this video is over, but you can also find a link on my blog, or you can go straight to paperpumpkin.com. All right, so this is going to be a great kit. Paper Pumpkin did give us a heads up. If you are already a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, I just want to let you guys know I haven't been able to get it into my email yet. There's going to be a slight delay on the shipping of the January kit. So just a heads up for anybody who either already subscribes to Paper Pumpkin or who's interested in signing up for January. You will still have it in time to craft for Valentine's Day. They haven't given us a specific date yet. They're just saying that there's it's going to be slightly affected by all of the shipping issues that we're having worldwide, but that we will still have this kit in time to craft for Valentine's Day. Hi, Kathy. How are you doing? What's going on with you tonight? Okay, so that's the first thing, is Paper Pumpkin. Second thing is I have a host code, and I also have an ordering special that also ends tomorrow. So just in case you are still shopping or you're still interested in getting the card kits from the free class I did on January 4th, that is still available through tomorrow, and then that ends. But the host code and the free embellishment is good through the 17th. And then on the 18th, I'll be having another free class, and a new ordering special at that time. So just a heads up on that. Okay, so now that we got through all of that, if you're not already on my email list, be sure that you are on my list, because that is where I share sneak previews. And that's also where I'm going to be announcing all of the information about my live classes, January 18th and February 1st, if you're interested in that. This is our Saleabration brochure. Stampin' Up does this offer with Saleabration, where January 4th through February 28th, you can earn free products when you spend. And if you spend 100, you can get Friendly Hello stamp set and this designer series paper. And that is what we are using tonight. So here is the stamp set. Phenomenal. You get 13 stamps here. You get a combination of the imagery. You also get your really good sentiments, honestly. And I just made this about love. So you have my love is what's on these cards, but you could also, of course, keep the whole thing, which says and support. So we're going to work with our little birds. We're going to make lovebird cards. And then we also have this fabulous paper. So I'm going to walk you through the paper. But this is the designer series paper here that comes with Friendly Hello. And if you are a fan, or if you own the Stampin' Blends, you're going to have a lot of fun coloring these lovebirds, I'm telling you. And if you want to leave them just one color, do something really easy, you could do that too. Okay, so we're going to just walk through these papers really quickly because they're beautiful patterns. Hi, Tracy. How are you doing? I saw your new magnolias. I saw your post. That they're going to be gorgeous. I can't wait to see when they grow. Okay, so here we go with the paper. So this is the Friendly Hello Designer Series paper, 12 by 12, double-sided, absolutely gorgeous. I pulled the same Stampin' Blends as our color combinations that we have with this Designer Series paper. And let me just give you a little sneak peek of that, because we're going to be using the Stamparatus tonight. Okay, so Granny Apple Green, Fresh Freesia, Pool Party. I snuck in Daffodil Delight. That's not in the paper. And then Petal Pink. So I'm going to put that there. And then let me just show you guys. Absolutely beautiful no matter what you choose. This is one of the patterns we're going to be using tonight. And this is the coordinating pattern that I chose to go with it. And then of course the other side, if you really love that bird and floral theme, you can do that. Now this was the paper that I used on the second card, so I just wanted to show you this combo really quickly. And again, both fabulously double-sided. And I mean, every single one of these patterns is very easily usable, but I loved that combo. I thought that was so pretty. So that's that. And then let's go through the rest of these papers. I really struggled. I wanted to use this one. I wanted to color this one with the Stampin' Blends. Has anybody done that yet? Let me know. Let me know in the comments if you have, but so beautiful. And then that's the second side. Then we have this paper here, this one here. Just so much that you can do with this. Okay, so I already pre-cut. We're still going to do some die cutting together on the live, but I at least trimmed down some of the designer series paper, so I won't have to do all kinds of cutting tonight. But let me just set that aside. So if you spend $100, you can get Friendly Hello, the stamp set, as well as the designer series paper. And here are some cute things that you can make with it. So I'm going to do the simpler, like sort of like the cleaner card tonight. And then after I'm done making that card, I'll walk you through the differences with this card. The other product that I snuck in there was the Fresh Freesia ribbon. So just a little pop of ribbon on each card. This is the open weave ribbon. I figured that since we did a really simple project on Thursday, we could do something a little fancier tonight. So we're going to be using a Fresh Freesia card base. We're also going to be using those two patterns I just told you about. I'm going to have a little bit of Fresh Freesia cardstock for our heart. Oh, and I'll go through the dies too. So we're going to be using our stitched rectangle dies, and let me get you the sizes on these. And I'll make sure this is all posted up on my blog tomorrow too. Okay, so we have our birds here, and that is, this rectangle is, every time I read it, I feel like I'm not giving you the right measurement, but the way I'm looking at this is 3, like if I go edge to edge on the die, is 3 11/16 by 2 3/8. Okay, so that's the smallest one. Then our mid-sized rectangle is going to be 4 1/8 and 2 3/4. And our largest rectangle is going to be, these are all from the same set, 5 1/4. I should have done the shorter side first, by just under 4 inches. So it looks like it's kind of between 3 7/8 and 15/16. I feel like that's a bit much. Let's just say 3 7/8. How about that? Okay, so those are our 3 rectangle sizes. And then I'm sneaking in my little heart die from the Love and Happiness bundle. If you have, I'm sure, you know, we all, if you've been a crafter for a little while, you probably have a heart die in your collection somewhere. I'm sure it'll be fine. I would go for something smaller so you can nestle it between your birds. But if you do have the Love and Happiness bundle, this is a perfect fit. Okay, so we're going to be using that tonight too, and it all has that stitching theme there, which is really nice. So we're going to do the mirror imaging technique tonight. So there's only one bird on the stamp, but we're going to use the Stamparatus to make 2 birds. I'm going to be using my basic white cardstock for this. I'm just going to slide these off. You're also going to need your silicone mat. Okay, so this way the birds are kissing each other or facing each other, just depending on how you want to do it. And I liked their beaks touching. I thought that that was really, really cute. Hi, Marcia. How are you? Okay. Oh, I have a nice little group tonight. So nice to see all of you. Okay, so let's get our Stamparatus out. You get 2 plates with your Stamparatus. You're only going to need 1. I kind of have my sentiment that I'm going to use later just kind of tossed down to the side here. You don't have to leave it there. I just I'm being lazy. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have your silicone mat. This is key for doing the mirroring technique, and you want to make sure that it's clean. And then I usually just bump it right up to the corner when I'm using it with my Stamparatus. So we're going to stamp our first bird, and I have a bunch of cardstock cut at this size, but you can cut it smaller, of course, because we're going to be using that smallest rectangle. It's up to you on how you like to conserve your basic white. I'm going to use a little bit of a larger piece. I like having room. And I'm going to be using Memento Tuxedo Black ink tonight because I'm going to be coloring with Stampin' Blends. So the other thing is I'm going to be doing a little bit of masking on this project. And that just means that for my birds, and let me show you what it looks like in its original stamp form. When you stamp the whole image, it looks like this. But I don't want these flowers. So I've decided to kind of, just mask those off so that I can have my two birds there. So I'm going to cover this little cluster right here. And it's okay if you don't get a perfect stamp where the breast of the bird is, because you're going to cover it with this little heart. Okay, so let me cover this up, and let me just make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to put this cardstock, oops, let me try one that isn't practice. Have your practice cardstock around too. Okay, so you're going to want to get real close to the bird's feet, and then also close to the bird's beak, but there is space between that leaf and the beak. And then we're just going to cover these up. Okay. And I still want to get that line on the bird if I can. So I'm just making sure that this outline for the bird, the belly right there, is still going to get inked. And by using your Stamparatus, you can ink more than once if you need to. Okay. So you guys know how much I love my Stamparatus. So I'm just going to ink this up. And you can kind of check your lines and everything as you're inking. And I'll put this down. I know this is a weird angle, but I'll put this down so you guys can see against the white. Okay, so we can see that that bird is pretty well covered here. And I'm just going to go in and make sure that the beak is well inked in the eye. And then I'm going to remove this and stamp. Let me just make sure okay, and if we make any mistakes, we'll just flip it over and try again. I'm going to lift my plate slowly. I've heard people say in the past that if they pull up their Stamparatus too quickly, they end up moving their cardstock and they can't stamp a second time. So just pick it up gently and you shouldn't have a problem. And I'm really happy with that. I think that looks really good. So I'm going to set my basic white cardstock aside, and we're going to do this again, but we're going to stamp right onto the silicone mat. So I still have my my little mask here, and I'm just going to reposition this, aware of the fact that I'm going to get black ink probably on my fingers. You can do new ones if you don't want to get messy. And just getting close to that beak and close to that belly. And I'm going to do this one more time. But actually, with the Stamparatus, when you're stamping on the silicone mat, I do recommend that you stamp more than once, because when you transfer your image, there's not going to be as much ink going onto the silicone mat as on the paper. So if you do a double inking or a triple inking, you'll get a better impression. So I'm going to put my magnets down here. I don't know what these little things are. Just try to make sure your mat is as clean as you can manage. Okay, and then let me remove my mask, and I'm going to put this down. Make sure that transfers. I'm giving it a little bit of pressure. Oh, and I had a really good tip if you have an eraser for your dry erase board, use that and you'll get even pressure with your image. I don't know what I did with my eraser. So you can see we have a really good image here, but I'm going to ink it one more time. So I'm going to put my mask back one more time. If you feel like that's good enough with one pass, then just try it. but I'm going to do 2. I am, if you haven't already noticed, a messy stamper. Okay, there we go. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now I do see that I got a little bit on my flower here. You see that? So I'm just gonna pull that off. It's not a deal breaker. It's gonna be covered by the heart, but still. Okay, I'm just gonna press that down one more time. Bring it up slow. All right, and then now, let me see. I know it seems tricky, but you guys, it's pretty easy. If I can get the line up right, then we have a nice, easy bird transfer here. Let's see how we do. I'm gonna put my basic white cardstock back. My goal is to touch their beaks. So as you get the silicone mat closer to your cardstock, and if you bring down the side on the bird that's already stamped on the paper, you can start to get that line up. Okay, so you see, and I'm just going to try to touch their beaks. So just take your time as you're walking it down. And then I'm going to just give this a second to transfer, trying not to move it. I'm just going to lift that up. Isn't that cute? I just love that. I just love it. I've done it before, but if you're new to watching, it's such a fun little technique to do if you haven't already done it. But so cute. Okay, and then I will say that on the ones that I did here, I got my birds pretty close. Like they're nestled a little bit closer together. On this one, they're a little farther apart, but I believe that the heart will still cover that section. So we can double check it. Let me grab the heart die and just make sure. So with your positioning, just so you know, it should be perfectly fine. Okay. So now we're going to do some coloring. We'll come back to the die cutting in a minute, but I do want to do some coloring with these birds, and I am going to do the multicolor. Oh, Kathy, you haven't tried the mirror technique yet? Oh, you're going to love it. Do you have the silicone mat? If you do, you should definitely try it. It's really not, I know it sounds intimidating, but it's really not when you start playing with it. It's a really cute technique to try. If you guys love the birds or the Lovebirds theme, I think you're going to really love it. I Googled Lovebirds online. That's the truth. I just literally went to Google Images because I don't know that much about birds. I don't have a bird. And I just Googled what Lovebirds looked like, and I got so many different colors and variations of birds, but I liked this one. So I'm going to kind of recreate this one with you guys here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the light granny apple green, and we're going to do both birds the same color. But if you want to change their colors on this card, I change them. So just depending, you know, on how you want your theme to be. So here we're going to do from like half of the wing down, all granny apple green light. And we'll just start there. I have a tendency to color and color and color and color and blend and blend and blend. You don't have to do that. You can keep it, you know, nice and light or nice and basic. We're not going to get like into any like super technical blending, but the good thing about the Stampin' Blends, if you're not already familiar, these are alcohol-based markers, which means you won't burrow a hole into your paper when you're coloring. And if you want to layer colors, they will blend together easily and smoothly. And that's why we use the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I don't know if you guys have seen yet, but there are some new Stampin' Blends coming out. Skin tone colors, but of course you could use them for other things as well. And I think that is thrilling. Okay, so for the lower part, we did the Granny Apple Green light. We are going to use dark in a minute, but we're going to start bringing in some other color. So up here, I decided to use, and my Petal Pink light is getting pretty light. So let's see how far I get with it. But right up around the head, I just did Petal Pink light all around. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to layer other colors with it. But at this point, we're just trying to get some multi-tone and then blend in the middle there. So we're going to do this lighter color up here. And I wanted to try to coordinate with the designer series paper, but if you want to use like those tropical colors, you could do that too. Okay, so we have that. And then I'm going to take the Petal Pink Dark, and I'm going to start bringing a little more color here. Okay, and I brought in a little bit of yellow. So we're going to do some Daffodil Delight. Let me use the brush tip side first. So we're just kind of getting those colors going here, where it's not quite orange, it's kind of like yellowish orangey. And you can start to see those colors blending there. But it's kind of fun to go to Google and look at some pictures and then be like, yeah, I can try to recreate those colors. Let's do it. So I'm going to go back to my Petal Pink light. Let's see how much I have left. You guys, a lot of people have been talking to me about craft room organization. I think I saw a comment in there too. I'm going to go back and look at it. But replacing Stampin' Blends is on my list, and then they tripped me up by coming out with new Stampin' Blends. So what I might have to do is just add, you know, a set of blends per order for the next couple of weeks or the next few months until I get all my colors, because Petal Pink's got to go on that list, although the new skin tones are going to be cool. All right. Okay. So now we're going to do a little bit of detail on the wings. So the one thing that I noticed when I was looking at those pictures was that their wings were a darker green than kind of like their bodies. And it might have just been the lighting, but that's what I'm going to try to do with the wings. So we're going to make those darker. And I'm just kind of doing like light feathery strokes to kind of give the impression of feathers, but really the artist and their feathers is what my goal is here. Okay, so same thing on this side. Adorable little birds. Okay, and then if you want to color your branches, you can do that. I just used Petal Pink. I didn't even use a brown. But it's totally up to you. Let me see if I can do that. I broke my Petal Pink, by the way, you guys. So just bear with me. I totally stepped on it. The things that we do when we're crafting, right? So I'm just going to get my branch now while I'm thinking about it. Go for whatever color you'd like. Okay, and then let me just check against my other birds here. So the one thing that I did was I went back in with my light Granny Apple Green and just tried to blend in that color a little bit. So it's up to you if you guys want to do those little extra steps. Let me just make sure it's light. Yep. And then let me see if I can just soften this a little bit. Okay. And I am going to go back in with a little bit more Daffodil Delight to try to blend that. But I think that looks pretty good. What do you guys think? It's cute. They're cute. And then we'll just kind of go up around the head a little more to try to make that look a little more natural. And the more you color on those overlapping lines, the more you can see that alcohol doing its thing. Okay. Okay, so we have those. And the next thing that I did, this is the card that we are, hi Roberta, how are you doing? Oh, it's so nice to see you on a live. What are you guys up to tonight? You guys just have dinner? It's close to 8 o'clock. You guys are probably done with dinner by now. Okay, so right around this area here, around the birds, I did Pool Party everywhere. So Pool Party Light. And Pool Party is one of the colors on the Designer Series paper. On this one, just so that you guys can see the difference, if you do not want to do that, if you don't want to do a ton of coloring, I did not do any coloring around these birds. I just let the birds stand out. But on this one, I did do some background color. So just whatever, you know, whatever you prefer. And I'm just gonna kind of, same thing, light feathery strokes all around these birds. I've watched videos, you know, where the people are like really experienced with coloring with markers, and they all do these outlines in like really pale blues and grays to make the images jump off of the page. And I've never quite been able to achieve that look, but I feel like this comes close, where it just kind of brings those birds to life. And you can keep in mind your measurement for your rectangle so you don't have to color this whole panel. And I think it's okay if it looks a little, you know, markery. But you can definitely smooth out these lines if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to go right up around those beaks. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Let's check with our rectangle. Okay, so here's our smallest rectangle here. I think that looks really good. So we can go ahead at this point and start die cutting, but the one thing that I do want to do is I want to stamp my sentiment while I have my stamp apparatus down. If you're going to do any stamping on the inside of your card, which I was hoping to do on the live, we'll see how much time we have, then you can do that stamping too if you want to. I didn't get to do the insides of these cards yet. So let me stamp our sentiment. I'm going to use a piece of fresh freesia for this. And we're going to use the same ink, so the Memento ink. And here we go. Here's my little door. Okay, so I'm going to take the bird off. There we go. And let me just get my stamp cleaner because I can see I have some black ink kind of floating around on this. So I'm just going to wipe this down really quickly. So if you get messy like I did, you can clean that up. Just make sure this is clean while we're at it. Okay. All right. Whoops. Don't drop it. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop this in the middle here somewhere. I'm gonna line it up with the grid to try to get that sentiment as straight as I can. I think that looks pretty good. And then you can pretty much just stamp anywhere you want on your scrap cardstock that you're going to be cutting out with your heart. So let me just do it this way. And we want to make sure that we have enough space for the heart to cut out. Okay, so I think that's good. And then let me just get my magnets down. Is that going to stamp cleanly? I think so. Whoops. I do that every time. Okay, so we're going to take another Post-it and we're going to mask off and support. So we're just going to mask off these two words on the bottom. I will say that that D creeps up really close to the E. So what I did was I just got real close to love, that line, and then just tucked the Post-it in there so that it was covered. And hopefully that will take care of it. It's pretty close. All right, so then let me get my ink here. You can always take it off with your finger if you get it on there, but let's check and see. I think that's pretty good. Don't want that. Just making sure. I think we're good. All right, and then if you want to go back through that a second time, you can, but I think that's fine. You're going to want your sandwich for die cutting, which is plates 1, 2, 3, and 3. And let's cut our birds first. So for the next layer, I'm going to put a piece of the ribbon around it. So I am going to switch up my glue. I'm going to use the tear and tape adhesive for that. So we're just going to cut a piece slightly larger than the rectangle. Oh, you know what? You guys, I cut the wrong size rectangle. I must have grabbed the wrong rectangle die. I am so sorry. Well, I'll get you both measurements on the blog, but this one's a little bit bigger. I was just looking at that and I'm like, you can barely see that ribbon. So here you can see, let me get you the measurement on the right rectangle because I messed that up a little bit. So anyway, it's just a little bit more narrow. If you really want to see that, I had no idea I grabbed that. Okay, so the rectangle that you're going to want if you want to see more is 3 by 4 3/8. So scratch the first one I gave you and go with that one. And we're good for our other card. Okay, so that's that. And then we're going to add in our You Have My Love. And I am going to pop this one up on a dimensional too. So let me grab another sheet. I'm just going to loosen these up. Put this right in the center of the heart. And then we're going to put this right in between our birds. Okay. Usually I'll do multiple sizes just to give you options, but that was a total accident. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so this is the outside of the cards. If you would want to do the inside of the cards, the one thing that I had on my mind was the florals, you know, the florals and the branches on the stamp set. So cute. So if you would want to do any stamping, you could do that on the inside layer. So I thought I would just do something really simple, like maybe just the 2 flowers, and you could even do the smaller flower that already has everything else attached to it. But I thought maybe just like an outline of the 2 flowers and then maybe like 1 leaf or 2 leaves or something. So let's just add a little bit to that, just to have something on the inside, and then we'll pop that in there. And you could write over that if you do this in a light color like Fresh Freesia or something. Maybe we could do Fresh Freesia and Granny Apple Green. Let me see if I have those ink pads close by. And then you could choose whether you want the outline leaf or the solid leaf. I think for this one, I'll just do the outline. Okay, sorry if that was super crunchy sounding. All right, so we're gonna do Fresh Freesia flowers. We'll just kind of do it right down, like, I'm gonna do it at an angle, but it would look cute if it was just straight down too. And this will give me a chance to sneak in my leaves on either side. Uh-oh, my Granny Apple Green was a little bit open. Oh, I really try not to do that. Okay, I'll be sure to go back through those comments so that I can respond to everybody. Let's see. And then I'll just do one up here too. Okay, I'm kind of tempted to do one over here. Do I think that that would look weird? Let me see. I kind of want to do one this way too. That makes me happy. The rule of threes, right? Okay, there we go. All right, so let me just glue this onto the inside of the card. Okay, so there we go. And we'll be all set. And I'll walk you through, for anybody who wants to stick around, I'll walk you through the differences with the card that has the nest. I'll show you what I did to make that one if anybody wants to have a couple extra steps in there for your card. So Stampin' Up! Defines it as like a stepped up card, something a little bit more than basic, and then like Avid, which is where you're kind of adding everything but the kitchen sink, and that's definitely what the nest card was. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Saved. This one doesn't want to move. Hang on. Okay, so there we go. There's our card. And then let me just show you what I did differently with the nest card. And I know I did pull out a few of the differences already, but let me just go ahead and show you here. So, ooh, sorry. Oh, hi, Marion. How are you? No problem. As soon as I'm done with this, I'll start editing the replay for YouTube tomorrow too, for anybody who likes the shortened version. Okay, so for the nest, a few weeks ago, I did a winter version of the Friendly Hello stamp set where we kind of put some of that embossing paste on these trees. So I had a few left over, and I just wanted to put something. I had this idea of the birds sitting in the nest. Like that was like my initial thought for this card. So what I did was I cut, what is this? A hexagon. I cut a hexagon in Sahara sand, just plain. And then I put it where the birds were sitting. And then I cut this tree in half. And this is what I did on my other one too, where I used this, bird, and I'll link the video in the replay. But you just cut like until you reach the middle of your tree here. So you just cut this in half. And this tree was cut with the Beautiful Trees dies. It's from the Beauty of the Earth suite. And then I embossed it with the Timber folder, and the Timber folder also had Sahara sand ink on it. So it's tone on tone, Sahara sand on Sahara sand. This is what the die looks like. So you just trim these two pieces, and all I did was, you want the branches to be like facing down, and you just lay them over top of the, it's a trapezoid when you cut a hexagon in half, but I don't want to nerd out on everybody here. So anyway, this is basically the nest, and then you would just trim off any of the branches that you don't want. And then I just covered the edge of the nest with the ribbon. So in this case, I did tie a bow, where on this one I did not. So that's the main difference there. And then here was where I went wrong with my rectangle, because I used a more narrow rectangle on this card for that pop of fresh freesia. But on this one, because we had this really cool circle pattern, I wanted to show more of the pattern. So that was why I picked that larger rectangle. I did not realize that I grabbed the wrong one. But anyway, you know the difference. And then with, that's with the nest. So everything else is pretty much the same designer series paper. We did Stampin' Blends to color the birds. The only real difference is that this bird is a combination of petal pink, fresh freesia, and just a touch of the Daffodil Delight. And this bird is Granny Apple Green and Pool Party. And I just sort of blended those two in. I didn't really add any yellow to him on this version. So that's like the two main differences with the cards. And then of course you have your inside right there. Okay, so that's it. All right, well, thank you guys so much for spending time with me tonight. I'm thrilled that you guys love these cards. I will get the replay posted tomorrow. I will also get my blog up tomorrow so that you guys can see all of the card measurements and all of the colors and all the products that you would need for this project and all that lovely stuff. But just remember, just a quick shout out, tomorrow is the 10th. So if you need to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, or if you did like a temporary suspend and you want to go back and get the January kit, make sure you do that. There's going to be a slight delay with shipping. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to email me or message me about that. And you will have it in time for Valentine's Day, according to the Paper Pumpkin team. And my ordering special for the free card kits also ends tomorrow. All right. See you on Thursday. Yes, I will see you guys on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Bye-bye. Have a great night, everyone.